If you're working to sew some elastic on to create a stretched area that's nice and secured, take your elastic, put it on top of your fabric, and then for picking the right stitch, there's actually two stitches that I would use in the Singer Heavy Duty Sewing Machine. One is the one that looks like it jumps down, over and back down and over again, almost like a ladder. And there's also the multiple point zigzag. That stitch is right next to your regular zigzag. Let's go ahead and try them both. Stitch length somewhere around the 2mm length, and then also your width, usually around 4 if you're using something like a 1/4 inch elastic. So usually at this time, you are pulling the elastic based on how far you want your fabric to be stretched in. So sometimes when you do pull it, that's the stitches get a little closer together. So if you feel like they're almost piling up, lengthen the stitch length so we can pull it through while you're resisting and pulling it away from the needle. So again, don't be afraid to pull. It usually is what's going to gather it up. All right, let's pick that other stitch. My needle is up out of the fabric. I do like to make sure that happens before I switch my dial around. That needle moves a little bit. So let's just see where that little, I'm gonna make that a little wider now. There we go, how about up to 5? You'll see the difference when we're done. All right, so let's bring our take-up lever to the highest position and see how much we've gathered up the elastic. We were using that first stitch, which is kind of a ladder stitch, a little quicker to sew, gathers together nicely. Then I switched over to the multiple point zigzag. I found I didn't have it as wide as my elastic, so I made it a little bit wider. And look how that nicely encases it at the end. So a lot of times this is stretched, pulled, flipped, and top stitched. Here we go, top stitch from this side. Sometimes you can use like a twin needle on that edge, and it looks just as professional as something that you purchased in the store.